Okay, hello, Goran. Tell me why you wanted to be a part of the festival, Korean cinema's golden decade, the 1960s.
All right, so that is a good question. So last event that we did for Korean cinema was in collaboration with Film at Lincoln Center in 2019, and there was New Korean Cinema Retrospective, which covered time period from 1996 to 2003, roughly. So this is really the movement that kind of brought Korean cinema to global attention, right? With Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook and Kim Ji-woon and other filmmakers.
Mm.
And we were just kind of looking historically, when was the last time that Korea experienced such a boom, both in terms of its domestic industry growth as well as creativity? And after doing some research, well, that happened in the 1960s. So that was really kind of the first kind of golden age of Korean cinema. And it's also a time period that's not that well known in the States. And kind of we really wanted to bring more attention to these great movies that were made at that era. And it was quite incredible. It was also a learning experience for us, and we immediately fell in love with a lot of these movies, and really happy to have the opportunity to share those films with the audience in New York.
Oh yeah, I saw several of these movies, and I thought they were
Mhm.
really neat. They were, and I kind of wish I'd heard of them before. Do you feel like Japan kind of unfairly dominates the conversation when it comes to Asian movies in the 60s?
Uh, well, I'm not sure if fairness has anything to do with it, right? It's really it's simply the matter of the history and then the cultural experience and
Hmm.
the relationships within the countries, right? So, and certainly, maybe what uh, prevented 1960s Korean cinema to be better known is the fact that the industry sort of went into a decline in the 70s and
Mm.
into the time of the 80s, right? And kind of there was a lot of governmental control and censorship, and also the focus shifted more on television in the 70s, right?
Mm.
So, um, and I mean, a lot of it really has to do with the kind of continuity, right? Because I think the fandom for Japanese films that started in the U.S. developed early on and kind of continued, right? It never really stopped, right?
Mm.
And certainly there were a lot of different popular genres in Japan, not just monster movies, but let's say samurai films and Kurosawa, right, and
Right.
others. So. Um, and I think it really just has to do with getting to know other national cinemas in general and their histories, right? And then where do we put a focus, or and even from the fandom perspective, right? I mean, people like movies that they like, and they kind of tend
Mm.
to stay within their areas, right? And I'm really sure if people like to explore as much as back in the day. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? I don't know.
Well, I
Just
just like I wish I'd heard of some of these. But I guess there is like the whole like time is finite and everything argument.
yeah. Hmm.
But it's nice that we highlight this and maybe sort of expand our sense of like national cinema, because sometimes I think when people think of national cinema, they can think of they know Fellini, they know Kurosawa, but there's these kind of movies too, and I thought it was kind of neat to dive in for. I watched four movies in one day. That's what I did,
Great.
and it was
Eh,
fun. Yeah.
So what did you like? What's your favorite from what you've seen?
I liked Aimless Bullet.
Yeah.
The Dream one. What is I don't
Empty Dream. Yeah. The Empty
yeah,
Dream.
I like that very
Yeah.
much. Um, but I want to say I'm a big fan of the King Boxer, Five Fingers of Death.
Yes.
So please tell me what I'm
Yes.
missing out with Special Agent X7.
Well, there are actually two Chung Chang-hwa films that
Ah.
are of interest, right? So certainly we're super excited to be able to show Special Agent X7. Um, that film was considered lost until they found a 35 millimeter print in
Mm.
Hong Kong. However, no sound elements. There are no surviving
Mm.
sound elements, right?
Mm.
It's in color, and our screening is going to be international premiere of the digitized version because Korean Film Archive they took the print,
Right.
scanned it, digitized, right? So and we're also creating English subtitles for it. and we're going to have a DJ to provide live music accompaniment for the two
Neat.
screenings of the movie, right? So we're really trying to make it into an experience, right? And the
Okay.
film is quite a revelation because it's, if you could imagine, Chong Chang-Hwa making a James Bond style spy movie,
Very
right?
interesting.
And
Yeah.
and here the protagonist is a South Korean agency spy of X7, and he's being sent to Hong Kong to interrupt a gold smuggling operation that's run by those dastardly North Koreans, right? Um, and it is just beautifully shot. They go on location in Hong Kong and Japan and Korea and Taiwan, and has all those trappings of spy movies, but with a unique kind of Asian spin to it, obviously. And you just see the evolution of Chung Chang-Hwa as a director, and like nothing is wasted. It's just so superbly directed and edited. And when I watched it for the first time, of course there was no sound, and actually there were no English subtitles either, and yet I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was just enjoying the visuals of it. So I would highly recommend it if people can, make the time. Um, and then there's uh, it's oh well, I have to just refer my notes.
Sure.
Yes, Swordsman in the Twilight. I wanted to make
Right.
sure that I get a title right because I keep
Yeah.
thinking about Twilight Samurai for whatever reason, whatever it is. It's a swordsman in the Twilight,
Mm,
and it is Chong Chang-Hwa's attempt to create a kind of uniquely Korean sword fighting film.
mm,
So those of us who are used to, let's say, scenes happen, they are very brief. Um, and there's a lot of it's almost like he was trying to frame um, the swordsman kind of against the backdrop of Korean landscapes and palaces, almost like trying to create a painting in a way.
hmm,
So how it's being shot and framed, and so it's very interesting, and it's quite unique, and it's not a copy of a Hong Kong movie or a Japanese movie. I mean,
hmm.
even though the Hong Kong sword fighting films were very popular in Korea, and there were a lot of kind of cheap copies. But this film really stands on its own as a unique directorial vision of Chong Chang-Hwa.
Nice. Would you say there's some common themes in these movies?
Ooh, so that's a great question. So, I mean, I would say that the common themes have to do a lot with the clash of traditional Korean values and post-colonial modernity, right? And that obviously influence of Western culture, especially American pop culture, and kind of gaps between the generations. And so you can see a lot of that. And also kind of in general, how people deal with that quick social change after the war. How do they deal with that industrialization, right? In terms of their livelihoods, in terms of the relationships they have with others and with their children, and
Mm,
so it's really a lot of it really is concerned with things that people who lived in that era were concerned with, right?
uh-huh.
Um, so once again, time of big change, and how do you adapt and adjust to that change, and what are the conflicts that are created in the society as a result of that change. Uh,
Do you do you
and,
have a
and and you probably see that in Amos Bullet a little bit,
yeah.
right? Although that's a bit more of a depressing, kind of existential type of
Yes.
viewpoint. But if you let's say a similar film to that one, but a more balanced and kind of more hopeful,
Hmm.
is a Coachman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the one that I would also recommend.
Nice.
Uh, right,
Do you have a
it's
favorite Korean movie?
no. I have many favorite movies. I can't pick just one. It's just
What's your
impossible
favorite
for me.
movie right
But
now
this is
from
this I'm
Korea?
gonna say. What I can say though is,
Okay,
what are some of the films that got me into interested in Korean cinema, right?
sure.
So for me, it really started with um, Nowhere to Hide, which was
Okay,
director Im Young Se's film from 1999. And that film just kind of blew my mind, right? And then from that point, I would just, okay, I have to watch more. I gotta learn
yeah.
more, right? So that's
Oh
sort of
yeah.
what got me onto that journey 20
Okay.
years ago.
Oh, fair enough. All right. Well, Goran, thanks very much for your time. What is the best reason you could think of for someone to attend this festival of yours?
Well, the best reason is they're going to be surprised, they're going to be entertained, they will cry, they will experience a full range of emotions. They'll have a great time. So,
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
they're really interesting movies. I appreciated seeing, like I said, 4 1 day. I wish I could have found more, time to watch all 15, but we can only do what we can do.
It's a lot, right? And of
Yes.
course, people have their preferred genres, and we have a full spectrum of films
Mm,
represented in this lineup. So I know it's not possible for anyone to see every single one, but
mm.
there's enough to keep everyone um, entertained. So
Heck yes. All right. Well, thanks a lot for your time, man.
thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Take care.